Hello everyone. Welcome, welcome. My name is Stuart DeQ. I'm the executive director of the Yale Center for Business and the Environment. And just for a moment, imagine that you're walking through the halls of either the Yale School of the Environment on the left or the Yale School of Management on the right. There are orientations going on all around campus right now for students who are clustering in their communities around energy and climate change, business and the environment, other clusters. You all are centering and kind of coming into a lovely classroom, rubbing elbows with each other, exploring and considering a new program, and we're delighted you're here. We've got a wonderful hour planned with you all, where we're going to introduce you to the key faculty members who lead the courses that we've designed specifically for the working professionals who take the Clean and Equitable Energy Development course. We're going to talk through the kind of why now of the moment. That's what we're going to start with in just a bit. We're going to go through kind of like what is required of us in the current moment around clean energy from a number of different dimensions. Walk through the two courses that are comprise the bulk of the Clean and Equitable Energy Development program on energy justice and clean energy development. And really think through the kind of like journey and the path and the engagement of learners in a network of working professionals from around the globe who are all working in this area and this topic, getting into the project development and how do we center communities in the work. So we're thrilled that you all have taken the time to join us for this. That's kind of the session flow that we're going to have and get into. Uh, the folks you see on the call here, I mean, we'll come back to this, but one of the kind of areas that we feel is absolutely critical in how we work together and advance knowledge and skills on incredibly complex topics are you have to bring the kind of diversity of people together who can really do this well. And it's about creating constellations of really smart people, not focusing on individual stars. And so focus here, we've got faculty members drawn from alumni who have the decades of experience leading clean energy development, faculty tenured and practitioner at Yale who lead this work. Saki, if you can wave to everybody. Saki is the point person for all of this, the kind of engine behind it, the staff person, the one who makes all the things happen. So Rob Klee teaches environmental law and policy and has a really interesting background. You can call him commissioner if you want to make him uncomfortable because he's a former commissioner. Gerald Torres was kind of like the pioneer, one of the leaders, one of the people who really lit the spark of thinking about environmental justice and how do you incorporate and consider it in practices all across kind of academia and embedding it within practices in the federal government. Sarah Slusser and Jamie Carlson, people who lead and have worked at the forefront of clean energy development and energy development for decades. Kind of how do you do the hardest work in the field, engaging with communities, understanding risk, mobilizing investment, and being able to do this. And that's one of the things where we, I think, are the most proud of where we come together is we recognize gaps in expertise and understanding of where we think if we're going to put together the best program for you all, and the faculty come together at Yale, they say, we can't teach clean energy development, but our best alumni can because they really know how to do this. They've done this over decades, and we need to draw them into the program. And so we're really appreciative that Sarah and Jamie, with full-time jobs, also come and make time to teach here in the program. So um, the why now? What is CEED? How does it serve working professionals in the current moment? I'd love to turn to Rob. Rob leads all of our clean energy programming at the Yale Center for Business and the Environment, which I should mention is a joint initiative between those two schools that you see right there. But Rob, what are the unique benefits to kind of teaching and learning online with professionals? And where do you see kind of CEED meeting the current moment for education, like with the pedagogy we've all designed?
So, Stu, thank you for that introduction. Great to virtually see folks online. And I think you hit that's sort of our target and the folks who are here hopefully learning more about the SEED program are those working professionals. These are folks who are you have busy lives. You are in the business And yet we think we can offer, oh, now we're all together. We think we can offer to you those types of tools, skills, information, learning, insights that you are literally able to use. You learn it on Tuesday and you use it on Thursday. Those are the types of anecdotes we've heard from our online learners over the years, that type of actionable information that will help move you forward in your journey and the things that you're passionate about, and the things that you're doing either currently or the things you want to do in the future, you and the future work that you're doing. And that's really the spirit of it, is to take all of these amazing resources that we have at Yale and make them accessible to folks who can then turn them around and apply them fast. We also teach our master's students. That's 2 years before we mint a master's student. We get you in the work that you're doing and can help shape that, influence it for the good, we hope, and see the work that you do out in the world as being impactful and making dramatic change. And that's the kind of spirit of why I am always such a fan of the things we're doing through our online programs, because we get to engage with all of you and help you do what you want to do faster, better, and with really world-class information and support behind you.
Thanks, Rob. So Sarah and Jamie, Rob characterized this as like you learn on a Tuesday and then you can apply it on a Thursday. Well, it seems like in the current moment, there's a lot changing that is particularly relevant for in the clean energy space where things are changing rapidly. Could you both characterize the risks and opportunities that are around for for clean energy development in the current moment and the type of skills that you really want to see in both your own workforce being developed and increased and enhanced and in the partners you work with? Like, what do we need to meet the moment? How do we need to learn? How do we need to speed up the way we learn? Like what are you seeing out there?
Well, you asked both of us, so we'll both jump
We'll
in.
riff off of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say probably like the key ingredient to today is agility. The world is changing so rapidly, and the energy is the most dynamic sector today, as far as I can tell. But because it's supporting this huge AI push, and there's so many pressures on us, not just what's happening out of the current administration, but also just the actual demand for power is so high. And we have various technologies that can meet that, but the most abundant, the most economic, and the most near term is renewables, which, despite what any policy person wants to say or policy lead executive orders want to say, is going to be the way we actually power the grid for the next near term. And that's what we talk about in our class, is how to get projects done.
Yep. And so on that very point, I work with SB Energy, SoftBank Energy, and so a big piece of our investment portfolio is AI, and a big piece of our division is really building out the digital infrastructure and the power. Right? We had decades where energy decreased year over year in the U.S., and as Sarah's saying now, we're seeing it basically supposed to double in 10 years. And how are we going to meet that demand? And I think there's the very real economics of just renewables are here. We're in such a different position now than when Sarah and I started in the energy industry and have kind of worked across past different types of technologies. And I think to Sarah's point, right, it means looking outside the box and not being precious about one type of technology, but what is the right technology to meet the demand. And I don't know if you're seeing this as well, Sarah, but we didn't talk through any of this beforehand, but I'm seeing in our companies, like when previously it was like you had your division, you were in like power marketing of selling the electricity, or you were in constructing the projects, or you were kind of thinking about supply chains. And now there's such cross-team collaboration because, to Sarah's point, we're not just seeing all these policy changes, we're seeing supply chains, tariffs, different electricity pricing play out, queue issues. And so it really has to be, every team has to be flexible and has to think about it as a holistic system.
Yeah, I agree. Agility and collaboration. collaboration is key across sectors and across whole divisions, no siloing. And that's something we learned a lot at Yale, at SOM years and years ago about organizational design and behavior, and all of that is really, really relevant today.
And for the acronyms out there, the Yale School of Management is
Right,
YLSOM, and where you
right.
see YSE, it's the Yale School of the Environment, which are the two
Yeah.
that partner on this program. And Gerald, Sarah's mentioning collaboration and engagement. Can you talk a bit about what you're seeing on the economic opportunity associated with this, and how do you center this work and collaborate with the communities where it's most needed in a way where that those benefits are broadly shared and seen?
First of all, I want to unmute myself. But I also want to underline and support what Sarah and Jamie just said. The whole object is getting you the tools that you'll need to make things happen in the world. That's kind of the bottom line. And one of the things that I've benefited from is the one of the advisors for the Center for Environmental Justice is the person who invented the power purchase agreement. So he understands both the way you have to be nimble in designing kind of access, but you also have to figure out a way, how each project contributes to essentially the scale of energy projects. And I agree with Sarah and Jamie that you need to talk about renewable energy as renewable energy and leave the old nomenclature of alternative energy behind, because it's no longer alternative, it's in the mainstream. And we recognize that. We also recognize that one of the things that's occurred since, well, I hate to date myself but 1990s, has been the need to take the necessity of taking the needs of communities into the scope of planning right at the beginning. And so one of the things that we've been developing over the years is the technology for engaging communities. And recognizing that if you do that, the question of justice in the development of these projects, I'm not going to say it will take care of itself, but you've gone a long ways towards achieving that. One of the things we've been exploring are kind of virtual power plants for housing developments. So there are many things that you can imagine in the broad range of energy development projects that are going to both get us down the pathway that we need to get down on renewable energy sources and contribute to social equity and social welfare generally. And I think that's what we're aiming to do in clean and equitable energy development, to explore that, give you the tools to do it, and then you'll if the past is any this prologue, you will surprise us with your ingenuity. And so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and that really goes to the kind of like one of the core theories of change about why we put a program like this together and why you see this diverse and really incredible group of faculty teaching on it. It's the idea that this kind of constellations being far more powerful than stars, as I mentioned before. The complementary expertise you see from the people who teach here, and then the network that you will join of all the people from around the globe who are doing unique and interesting things in all sorts of different contexts and places. And you know that really goes to the value, as Rob stated, of why this program has so much meaning to us. Because it's really not the critics who count, but to the people like you all who are out there at the forefront doing the work with kind of like, sweat and dirt and steel and spreadsheets and trying to figure out how to make things work in complicated areas. And those are the people that we really want to support and see be able to have this kind of immediate impact out on the world. And to that point, we've already seen that with the previous cohorts. You're going to see one of our previous participants, Jameson. Davis is an ambassador for CEED. He's also listed in some of the materials, going from taking this program to immediately going and figuring out how he can talk to the local partners, be able to put a project in place, move it through the steps of engagement to be able to hopefully get something online in the near future. And then you see there's an explosion globally. Like, what does it look like in Pakistan right now? What does it look like in Sierra Leone and Brazil, where you're just seeing local communities with the technology in their hands come up with ingenious ways to deploy it at scale? And so Rob's going to get into the curriculum behind CEED, kind of the pedagogy, and then we'll dive into the courses that you would be joining with Gerald, Jamie, and Sarah. Rob, over to you.
But before Rob starts, I want to apologize to everybody for the informality of my dress. I apologize for that. I should have put on a tie.
This is part of the joy of online learning is like you actually can just like show up with a comfy shirt on and be able to do it. So, it's but over to you, Rob.
Yeah, Gerald, you definitely do not need a tie because that's part of what I enjoy is not having worn a tie now for about 5 years. So building off of Stu's, I'm going to quote you, sweat and spreadsheets. That is going to be part of your seed experience. Hopefully more spreadsheets than sweat. But in all seriousness, we were looking out and seeing that there was a gap out there that we thought that Yale could help fill around this mission of designing, developing, deploying clean energy that's resilient, and those solutions are actually going to benefit everyone, that are going to really bring in the core concepts of justice and equity to that development space. And so what does that mean? That means that a lot of folks who will come to our program, or we envision folks that are part of communities that want to be part of the clean energy revolution. They want to be there. They may feel like they're being left behind, or they're at an emerging market that wants to be part of this inevitable future that is sort of clean energy development deployment. And those folks will gain immensely from understanding, okay, what is development? How do you actually build these things from beginning to end? How do you get them off the ground and then in the ground or on the roof? Figuratively and literally. We also are attracting folks who are in that developer space, but need to understand or want to understand how to meaningfully and positively impact the communities that they are working with, those hosts that are going to be there with them for that deployment, that development that's going to also be part of that community for the next 20 years or more. And so that it's that combined sort of groups coming together that has really animated how we've designed the program and sort of brought the faculty together, that you need those sort of both components working together and really understanding how the hosts, the communities, and the developer mindsets need to be merged in essence. And that's really been the goal of developing the CEED program. I think, Trent, you can go to the next slide. So our CEED curriculum starts with sort of providing those foundations on what it means to be in the energy space. We often run the risk in the space of getting trapped in our own acronyms, but being conversant in what the energy world is about and what the environmental and climate justice world is about. And then a brief introduction, a foundation in what project finance is about. So you're learning the language of energy, the language of justice, and the language of finance, just so we can have those conversations as a cohort, as a group together, starting with a similar sort of foundation in the language. You then move from that, and that is an asynchronous, that's on your own. We also help you and guide you in how to be an online learner and the sort of effective tools and techniques that are critical to success in an online learning environment. Then the next part of the curriculum introduces the world of energy justice, what it means, the challenges, and from domestic and international perspectives, and really thinks about how renewable energy can be part of a just energy transition for so many communities, particularly communities that have been left behind along the way. And that's what Gerald Torres is going to dive deeper into. And then, so that's 5 weeks there in energy justice, and then 8 weeks in clean energy development. That is literally stepwise from, step 1 through 8 of what it means to actually develop a project and get it off the ground, from siting to the financials and how you engage with community, the challenges around interconnection and design, how you actually get the stuff through to the supply chain and actually procure things. And then once built, what is your strategy for making sure it stays functional over time? And that's where Sarah and Jamie take over and bring in their wealth of expertise and their depth of folks across that landscape. And you'll get to hear from and learn from, in all of our courses, folks both through recorded video sessions as a core part of our teaching tool, and then live sessions each week as well. So I think that's kind of my role, is to kind of tee this up as an overview. And then who do I pass to next? I think Gerald.
Gerald.
Thank you.
You're on mute again, Gerald.
I apologize. You'd think after doing innumerable Zoom sessions, I would always know to unmute. But anyway, one of the things that we want to do in this section of the course is to take the idea of environmental justice, apply it to the energy sector specifically. One of the things that makes the capacity to build projects so important is to recognize that the challenges for equitable distribution, equitable production, and equitable participation in projects is part of the energy justice and environmental justice constellation of issues that you need to consider. So that the energy justice challenges lead us directly into kind of the global justice issues and the idea of energy poverty, and to explain that in some depth, and then to link that to the question of a just transition. Because one of the things that we want to be clear about is that energy justice and the focus on justice is actually a way to make projects happen, not a way to make projects not happen. And one of the things that ensures that projects will be up and running is to have the community endorsed and behind and in favor of the projects as they go forward. And that's going to tie directly to how you get a community involved, when the community buy-in is necessary, and then how the energy production is distributed and the whole cost profile of all of that. So, we're going to take both kind of the difficult ideas of in environmental justice, but try to make them as concrete as possible, because energy development is about getting projects off the ground and making sure the energy is distributed in a way that supports the idea, produced and distributed in a way that supports the idea of justice. And it's there are a lot of ideas. There's a lot of potential complications. We will try to work through as many of them as we can. But I think we're going to end when we look at the just energy transition, hopefully, because we view it, at least I view it, as a path to the future. And that's what I want to continue to endorse. Thanks, Stu.
Great. Yeah, and keeping projects moving and moving more quickly is music to the ears of developers and people who work in the industry, like Jamie and Sarah. And also they've identified the skills gaps that we have not taught on clean energy development. So how do you teach clean energy development online? What does that look like, Sarah?
So we've got this 8-week course, and we actually were doing 5 weeks before, and we've expanded it to 8 because there was so much content. It's kind of jam-packed. And we realized we were collapsing too many disparate issues into one thing. And as you can see from this list of the modules, there is a wide range of skills that are needed to put steel in the ground and actually generate electricity and send the electrons to the grid. And it starts with actually picking real estate, picking sites, picking the right sites that are at the right interconnection point. And these are the kinds of things that you'll learn in the class. You'll learn it from us talking, you'll learn it from us interviewing other professionals in the field. We have sometimes panel discussions. Sometimes Jamie and I will do it together and we'll talk to one or two different people. But we try to bring in as many technologies as possible because we are believers that all of the above is the answer. And now with again the whole AI revolution that's happening and also onshoring of manufacturing and also electrification of appliances. We have a huge demand for power that we haven't seen in decades in this country. And so the need for the urgency to actually get more steel in the ground is really, really there. And we see it, it's really fun for us to bring in colleagues of ours, ex-colleagues of ours, and interview them about geothermal or we're going to even start thinking about small nuclear reactors. There's all sorts of different technologies that are becoming real and important as everything evolves. Jamie, you want to add something to that?
No, just that we're really excited about this course. I think the way it came about was, I think Sarah and I were kind of chatting about how we were really fortunate to be able to go into companies that kind of trained us in thinking about how to build and develop good, strong, responsible, clean energy or energy in general. But there aren't courses really out there, right? There's some courses in clean energy finance now in several universities, but we hadn't seen one yet in development. And we said, wow, that would have really like helped us and so many of our employees now if they had had an introduction of kind of thinking about the whole project life cycle and how it all kind of fits together. So we're really excited for another year of the course as it grows.
Can you also comment a bit on the project work that you saw at the end? I got to attend the final session last cohort of like what people put together. What did you see in terms of as people were developing and thinking about real projects in the field and how they incorporated their learning?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the course, typically what we do is we have folks kind of think about what technology at what scale and where from a location standpoint, whether that is, in the Northeast, California, India, and really thinking about how do you like where are you kind of most interested? And then it's essentially kind of building out what if you were the CEO of this project and we ideally give you all of the tools of thinking about the revenue, of thinking about the milestones you have to go through of with permits, of engaging community early and making them a key stakeholder in this, and then your operations and kind of making a pitch on at the end, essentially the teams work together of saying, here's kind of the holistic view of how we would build our project as the CEOs of the project. And it's been great. We saw some of them actually been realized. I think we saw one in Connecticut, which was a small a community solar project on a resilience center. We've seen geothermal at a larger utility scale. And so it's been really nice cross collaboration too of being able to take each of the classes and then say, okay, if I was going to do this project, how would I apply these learnings and how does it change the way I think about developing this project now?
And you guys, the students can each select what technology and what location they get to do this in. So it's a lot of self-direction in that sense, which is exciting to realize your own vision.
Thank you, Sarah and Jamie. So, Saki, you drive the train on this and make sure that we're always on time and in the right place. Tell us kind of what the pattern looks like for students, like how do learners that are in it, like how does it work? What does a week look like what to expect?
Sure. So, hi everyone, Saki here. Thank you, Sarah, Jamie, and Gerald, and everyone for grounding us in the industry realities and opportunities. Building on that, let's shift gears to explore how SEED program is designed to equip professionals to meet this moment as we have been talking to. So I will take a closer look in the program delivery on a week by week, and then look at the structure and also the timeline of the applications and the program. So as you can see, we are starting the program with some pre-work and then a week long of live orientation, which you will get to know the faculty and the course and the platforms and detail, and also access those platforms. And then that orientation week is followed by 3 weeks of foundational works to get you started, and also to narrow that knowledge gap and energy and environmental justice, and also project finance. So, and then that we are moving to the 2 core courses or main courses of the energy justice and clean energy development that we have covered in details. And Sarah and Jamie and Gerald have talked about that. And then in terms of the expectation and the commitments, SEED is designed to work for working professional, and it has a very rigorous but flexible kind of setup where you can completely and comfortably fit it with a full-time working schedule. And on an average, we are expecting participants to dedicate up to 5 hours of work per week to the SEED program, and it's split in up to 3 hours of readings, case studies, and assignments and quizzes, and then up to 1 hour of pre-recorded short video lectures, averaging no longer than 10 minutes. And then we also convene for 1 hour each Thursday during the 2 core courses, the energy justice course and the development course, for 1 hour of live sessions. As I said, on Thursdays at noon Eastern time and the sessions are led by our lead faculties, and we are also always having guest speakers from leading companies and organizations in the industry, and you will have the chance to ask questions about their projects and their work, in addition to being able to interact with our faculties. You will also be able to kind of like engage with your peers through the small group breakout discussions. You will have a lot of time to engage and network with them through the final project, and you will also have the opportunity to join our office hours and then ask and bring your questions to the faculty and to our TAs and online mentors, which you will get to know them during the orientation. So moving on to the next slide, in terms of the community that we have been talking about, as we have been saying, that SEED is just more than a certificate program confidently, and it's an entry point for you to join a very diverse and active network of clean energy professionals from across the US and the globe. And as soon as you join the SEED program, you will gain a lifelong access to our private networking and socializing platform, which we call it Yale's Clean Energy Collaborative. And in that platform, you will have the chance to engage with hundreds of clean energy professionals from across the world and share job opportunities. You can collaborate with them on projects and also stay connected geographically and across sectors using the features that is provided by that platform. You will also have, with joining SEED, you will have a free admission to our annual Yale Clean Energy Conference, which is your chance to engage with hundreds of clean energy professionals and companies and developers from across the US and the world. And then as part of that conference, you have free access to our annual SEED and FDCE, which is our Sisters online program on clean energy financing and deploying reunion event, which is happening on an annual basis as part of the conference. And you will have the chance to engage with the current participants of these programs, and also with the completers and the alumni community, plus our faculties and industry collaborators. Then you will also have discounts to attend our Environmental Joy Conference happening every year, led by the Yale Center for Environmental Justice. And you can see the dates and details for all those conferences on our website, and also in the chat through the links. And as much as you think this is it, yet we also give or provide a year-long subscription for our seed participants to Heat Map News, which is our partner and also a leading climate and energy news organization, which I'm sure you must have seen some of their works in the recent times. Now moving to the next slide, I just want to make sure that I'm kind of communicating this, that please feel free to ask questions and put it on the chat or on the Q&A, and then we'll definitely try to answer them as soon as possible. So as you can see in the timelines and also in the program, like dates, in addition to kind of this info webinar event, we also provide and hold 3 Ask Me Anything sessions. And these sessions are kind of planned to help you decide if still CEED is the right fit for you. You will have the chance to engage with CEED program staff and also the CEED program participants from previous cohort, which are CEED ambassadors. These sessions are unscripted, they are unplanned, and they don't have like an agenda. You can just join and candidly have conversation with the participants in absence of the program staff. So you'll have the chance to ask them questions or discuss the program experience and details during those sessions. So we highly encourage you to join at least one of those sessions with ambassadors, or even bring your questions or discussions to the CEED program staff. And then on the timeline of the application and the program, as you can see, our priority deadline is October the 1st, meaning that if you want to apply and make a case for a tuition discount, please apply before our priority deadline. And then for all general applications, our application is open until November the 10th, which will be the last day for your chance to join the from now on once a year CEED cohort happening in 2026 spring. As you can see, the program is going to be starting on January 12th with the orientation and our live sessions, and then the program ends on June 1st for 5 months running. And again, this CEED program is going to be running once a year from now on. So this is really your chance to get into the next cohort of the program. And then we do encourage folks to apply and start early, not only for consideration for the tuition discount, but also to make sure that they have reserved your seat, and then also you have plenty of time to prepare for the program. This is it from our side. Thank you very much for joining us. Now it is your turn to ask us any questions. You can ask questions about the curriculum, the kind of the timeline, the program, the delivery style, and depending on who is best to answer the question, we will either answer it live, or we will answer it in the chat, or even we can send you private messages if you have questions that are private. So feel free to ask your questions in the chat, and we will try to answer them as soon as possible. But in case your questions weren't answered in the 1 hour time frame of this session, feel free to join our Ask Me Anything session with the program staff, and we will talk about your questions or concerns in detail.
Great. Thank you, Sagi. And just as one final bit, we have had a lot of success and really enjoyed working with cohorts from organizations or regions where people come together and multiple people from an organization or from a state or region come in and apply to the program together. This kind of fits also where we see these like systems, policy development at a local level changing, is where you get clusters of really talented people all getting increasing their skills and knowledge in the area, and it really being able to reshape the local landscape, which is where all these projects happen. So questions that we have here, let's see, in the chat and in other areas. So Coral answered this one a bit. So would admission to these conferences be for 2025 and 2026? Both, as Coral's saying. So like this is kind of a like applications, once people are part of these programs, they're always welcome to come back on an annual basis with that kind of like free tuition, or like the waived kind of fee to the clean energy conferences that are here. And then the certificate, Brad, I mean, Rob, you want to handle the kind of distinction you would say between what is the Clean and Equitable Energy Development Program, the 5-month program we're describing here, and our 10-month Financing and Deploying Clean Energy Program, which are designed to be unique and complementary and touch on different skills and knowledge areas in the clean energy system.
Yeah, and Coral's version in the Q&A sort of captured it that they are complementary. There's very little overlap except for where it's crucial. So in the CEED program, you need to have some of the basic understanding of how projects are financed, but that's not the core sort of focus of CEED. CEED is really that deeper dive into both the equity and justice community engagement elements of how to build stuff and then how to build it. It's really where CEED's focus is on that deploying of it at what it takes to actually get a physical asset created, which is no small task, and which is why we spend that course entirely around there. The Financing Deploying Clean Energy program is longer. It brings in topics around energy policy, the energy technologies in a deeper dive. It has a more traditional kind of school of management style finance course built in, and then looks at innovation across the clean energy space. So again, they're complementary. You can actually, folks have taken both. There's actually design so they could be taken in either order as well. But those are our two sort of core programs on online teaching programs.
Great. Thanks, Rob. And questions are coming up just to like touch on them briefly. 100% online, but we really, deeply appreciate and make all these pathways where people can get together in person, whether coming to New Haven and visiting or in regional activities or where we can organize people at conferences or events outside of New Haven. The people
Stu,
working, yeah, go ahead.
you just do real quickly on another part of it in case it wasn't entirely clear. Yes, a lot of online learning is asynchronous on your own time, but we do find that those weekly live sessions are places where the community comes together each week and has that live engagement. Plus, we have teaching fellows and other sort of office hours, other resources. So yes, you are online, but it's not like you're on your own. You are actually have those opportunities to engage with people in real time as well.
Great. And then in terms of the great question on what we're looking for, people who are actively working in energy or interested in someone working in another industry or interested in implementing in their industry, but not a direct decision maker. I'll just characterize this kind of at a high level, but I'd love to hear from anybody, folks in the room who've had the experience of teaching. We're really looking for both within this, is because the partners and the people engaging and enabling these projects may not directly work in the clean energy industry, but they really are the kind of like the enabling infrastructure that makes all this happen. Whether it's from a policy organization or a local partner or a community leader, these are all the folks that are there. And we've designed it so the foundations courses prepare people to have a shared conversation where then they can dive in more deeply into these principles. But from the experience of teaching this from the faculty, like how have you seen different participants come in, the knowledge levels, the backgrounds of experience, how does that connect?
I would say that the people that come from different backgrounds actually have a lot to offer in these classes because they just bring, a different perspective. And we've had people from, this is a clean energy program. So we've had some people like also from the energy sector, but from different sections of the energy sector, like oil and gas, who are interested in transferring their skill set into more clean energy development. We've had people from like economic development sectors of government. We've had, green bank people. We've had all sorts, and I think the perspectives are really, really great. They can go deep, maybe into their own area, like a green bank person can really understand the finance side of things. But the whole point of the course is to bring out all the other aspects of clean energy development and be able to round people out. And so we really embrace people from all types.
Yeah, and I think as Sarah like really emphasized before, we're in unprecedented times around energy, right? Like we really haven't been at this growth. And so we need kind of so many different angles and perspectives. And also folks who don't come from necessarily the energy background. We sometimes get a little technical, but like the going back to the basics is actually really important for all of us, you know, like asking a question from a different angle. So we highly promote it.
I would underline both those. I found that the wide diversity of experiences that people bring to the class actually makes it a richer experience. And like Stu said, we have had cohorts where you'll get people from one company or from a region, and what at least the feedback that I've gotten is that those cohorts actually continue to develop and build out the knowledge that this class is supposed to get you down the path on. So
Great. And we have someone asking about the applying from the same organization or in a region. And so, when you're doing that application process, like we want to get to know each individual that's applying and then have that reference point of people applying together. So, Saki, can you give people a little bit of detail on the kind of like cohort element of how the application process, the mechanics of it works? Or Coral, if you want to jump in as well, one of the two of you, of what people should expect if they're approaching that route. And Coral is typing an answer right now in the background, but
Sure, I can go verbally and then I'll finish my written answer there. But so we really, just kind of building on this conversation about collaborative learning and skills building and capacity building. This is not just an opportunity for you as an individual, but also for organizations, for the teams that you work on. And we have sponsored cohorts or clusters of folks who are either working at the same organization or are connected to one another at different organizations working on the same project. And there are some tuition discounts if the organization is sponsoring four or more of their employees or their partners into the program. If you are interested in that, if that's something that your organization wants to do, I think the best place to start is by sending us an email so that we can talk through what your goals are for that cohort and cluster. And the application process is very streamlined. It's simple. Each individual will need to fill out their own individual application. And so we can talk to you about how to indicate that you're part of that cluster once we have a plan together. So I mentioned a tuition discount. That's one benefit of the cluster. I mentioned capacity building. So that's another really like motivating factor for these clusters. And we can talk through what does it look like to provide special support in some way for organizations who sponsor clusters of 4, 6 folks into the program.
Coral, while we have you, can you answer the question too, just on the tuition discounts? How it's structured, what it means for the priority deadline, like how that's approached in the application process.
Great. Yes. So this is a not for credit. It's a professional certificate from Yale University, and so it falls outside of the usual sort of financial aid available for, say, a master's degree program, so or student loans. And so we do offer a tuition discount process. So in the application, there's an essay that you can fill out requesting a tuition discount. Those tuition discounts are up to 20% of the tuition price. And your application needs to be complete, that essay completed, and submitted by the priority deadline. So priority deadline is October 1st, so make sure that you get those applications in. What are we looking for? There's some guidance. So go to our app apply page on the CEED website. I've shared it in the chat. And you can download an application checklist. This is going to give you insight into everything that's going to be required for the application process, and also a little bit of advice on what we're looking for in the application and how to present your application in a way that will best represent you.
Great. Thank you. Rob, we also have a question on kind of the curriculum design and the tools and knowledge taught in the program applicable globally and in the US. If you want to, can you start that process of kind of like how is it set up so that people can take lessons from one region and apply them to the other? And then, I don't know, Gerald, Jamie, or Sarah, of kind of what you've seen in practice from the conversations that you've seen amongst participants.
Sure, I'll start, but I'll probably quickly pass it to my colleagues. Yeah, no, we recognize and we really embrace the fact that we have learners joining us from around the country, around the world, and particularly in the energy space, when you get down to the development of an individual project, you're dealing with a very specific set of circumstances in both the policy lens, the utility lens, the interconnection queues, what grid you're part of, and those. So the goal of the course is to make you conversant and understand those universal truths, though, in the process of development, and the universal truths about engaging with communities, recognizing that when you apply it to your own local situation, it'll have its own very important nuances, differences, key things you need to learn on that hyper local level. But there's a lot of things that have those kind of broader applications regardless of where you are. But again, our cohort also brings to us, well, my experience in sub-Saharan Africa, which is different from my experience in Europe, which is different from my experience in Connecticut, which is different from my experience in California as well. But others, feel free to jump on.
Yeah, we've had in our class people from all over the world. I'm trying to remember exactly which locations, but I definitely remember a project in Africa.
Uganda.
Right, Uganda. And what else, Jamie? We also had
A decent amount of Latin America, I think, is where
yeah,
we've seen, and then India,
yeah.
primarily. And I think, and for Sarah and I both, we've spent a decent amount of our own careers in some of those places, in East Africa, in South
All over
Africa, Latin America, India. And so I actually think it's
China.
really
Yeah.
helpful, of like thinking about, is there a different way to do this, or considerations?
We definitely teach more from like the universal truth, though, as Rob was saying, and not as specific probably to any single region.
Yeah, I'll just underline that. I mean, I have a kind of a significant amount of experience in Latin America, and I've worked with some colleagues in Africa, so that the things that you learn in the class are going to be able to be applied to wherever the project that you are working on is located. As Rob said, and I think the point he made is absolutely critical, which is that there's always going to be local and specific differences, but they're going to be understood through the lens of these broad principles that you're going to learn. So we're not creating just a template that you can place down anywhere, but we're helping to provide a way for you to think about and address these problems and integrate the specific differences that you're going to encounter in whatever locality the project is being developed.
Great. Thank you. Love those answers. Yeah, and so this is what it looks like. You just had an hour of packed information online, a live session with all of our faculty here who teach in the program. This is what we will, create as a community, a sense of engagement, the ability to have the skills, tools, knowledge to do some of the most meaningful, rewarding, complex work that is needed at the moment. As Sarah and Jamie are saying, like so many forces of creating more demand for power and what's our capacity to build. And this is really the element of like, where do we as a group of people get to the point where we can meet the kind of demands for power and the potential of technology and the needs of communities. And we think that the people that are participating in this program and on these calls are really the keystones to unlocking this, the working professionals at the local level who can make these things happen. So we're thrilled you spent the time with us here today. Thanks for doing it. And if you have any questions about the application, Saki, who's smiling and waving right there, Coral, others are always available to answer them. And we look forward to seeing you submit. And if you have any other questions, please reach out and have a lovely day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.